Oh boy. This is the new one. It's so freaking early. It's dark outside. So rather than talking in the dark, which I guess isn't that bad, I'm going to go ahead and just get on the road and get on over there. Today, if this isn't romantic, and I don't know what is. You and me under a dark moonlight. Well, because this is as much light as we get, and if I take the video here, it's probably going to be really weird for you. I'm Joey, part of the Gym Junkies. This is day 9. Day 9 is going to be shoulders and traps. Now, my shoulders and trap routine is the exact same. I really don't change it week to week. One of the things that I do that may be a little different than what you do is I keep the workouts pretty consistently for like about 4 weeks, especially when I'm doing a 12-week deal. There's no point in really changing it up. The only time you really want to change it up is when you kind of plateaued and you need to stimulate your muscles in a different way. So for me, the routine isn't going to be much different the next week. I'm still going to show you the footage that I do, but I'm not going to have to show you, 35, 45 seconds of it, because if you've seen last week's, it's going to be the same pre-workout burp. So as I sit here and wait for this pre-workout to settle itself in, kickstart this heart, and get my mind flowing full of ideas, some of you may have seen the last video. There was a little thing I stumbled on that I didn't even realize until I was editing it, was making a new category for when we talk about any kind of discussion, and it's going to be called BroScience! And then we'll stick it up right here. Boom! BroScience! Get right into our new thing. BroScience! Go ahead and put it right there. Boom! BroScience. So what BroScience is going to be is anytime that I'm going to get involved in the topic that we're going to be discussing about for the day prior to the workout, we're going to go ahead and start this little thing called BroScience. That's exactly what I'm doing. All these little subjects that we talk about are either something that's been emailing me directly or something that's been asked of in Instagram. For whatever reason, people aren't really leaving comments in the YouTube world. Does that bother me? I really don't care. But the main important thing is to be able to get the questions answered on the blogs or through Instagram. So when we have an opportunity to do that, we are going to do a BroScience. I haven't really figured out why I yell it out that way or talk it out that way, but for now, that's what it's going to be. So here on BroScience, I decided to go ahead and jump into the hardest question. The hardest question, the one question that all these other fitness channels seem to be really vague upon, which I really don't know why, but I think I know why, so we're going to go ahead and tackle that one, because I know if there was a question that people really want to know the answer to, or really want a perspective on, I might as well be the one to give it. So the question we're going to jump into for our first episode of BroScience is going to be, what makes you a natural bodybuilder versus being an unnatural bodybuilder? Now, I noticed on all the fitness channels, a handful of guys attempt to tackle this question. But so the only reason that I could think they'd be vague on it, because A, they've used anabolic steroids in the past of their life, or B, they're vague about it because they have a fitness channel, and although they may not use anabolic injectables, they've probably dabbled in using some pro hormone, we'll just say. So they're very delicate about putting that out there, because even though they haven't done any anabolic injectables, they are very aware that they've done pro hormone, which to me still defines you as being unnatural. Anything that kicks up your testosterone unnaturally to a higher level defines being unnatural. I don't understand why it has to be so vague. So people are going to ask, well, does that mean because I did pro hormone for like 2 years when I was like 18 to 20 and I'm 30 now, does that mean I'm unnatural? That means you're unnatural. That means the age is between 18 and 20, whatever you were during your growing peak. That means you were using some kind of synthetic testosterone that was being fed into your system that increased your levels beyond the natural zone, and you had growth because of it. Now, I'm not saying that when you used the pro hormone, you became absolutely freaking huge. I'm just saying that since you supplemented a pro hormone and you had your testosterone levels increase unnaturally, that would make. So I thought today would kind of be a good thing, instead of using music for my workout, to kind of discuss an important thing that we got a question about a few days ago, and I never got a chance to talk about it during the post. But one of the things I think that is really important when you're lifting is the mind and body and spirit. It's one of those things where a lot of people don't really think about, but when they begin to embrace it, they really start noticing the amount of gains and the amount of power they start to form. So I wanted to take a second and kind of explain that, because it ends up being a relationship between me and the weights. That's really how I consider it. When I'm starting to do any kind of exercise, in particular, if you notice in this video, we're actually focusing on shoulders and traps. When I'm doing shoulders, it's not so much just a pushing and grunting that's going on that may be on the exterior. Inside my mind, what I'm actually doing is really starting to embrace the weight. Rather than focusing on lifting the weight and trying to get the most amount of reps out of the weight, or trying to get the most amount of weight, what I'm really doing is getting behind the weight, and as I'm starting to accelerate in either the push or the pull, I'm really focusing on the flexing of the particular muscle. For in this case, as I'm pushing the weight, I really focus on just flexing. When you begin to flex a muscle as you're lifting the weight, you'll notice a much tighter contraction. Your mind is really focusing on isolating the workout, so you're directly affecting the muscle you're trying to affect. There's so many times when I see people do shoulders, they have a tendency to throw the weight because they're more important, they're focused on the rep themselves and finishing the count, or they're focused on a number. I do use numbers in my sets to kind of help me regulate where my tempo is going, but it's because I've already figured out that the amount of weight I can do, I can push until 1 rep prior to failure, or 2 reps before absolute failure. Like I explained in the earlier videos, the only difference between my bulk cycle and my cutting cycle workout wise is, instead of going to failure, which I usually do in my bulk cycle, I try to stop 1 rep prior to complete failure on my cutting cycle. That way my muscles are still being introduced the same workload, they're still having to adapt to the weight. That way I can try to minimize the muscle that I'm losing during my cut cycle. So when I'm really focusing on these muscles, it's kind of a spiritual thing where I'm really just speaking to them, and this weird, telepathic thing, especially when I'm doing traps. It's rather than focusing on just pinching my shoulders to my ears, I'm going over and over on mine saying, grow, pump as much blood as I can. I actually watch the striations flex as I'm going into exercise, all the way up and all the way down. That way I know I'm getting really true isolation, and at the end of the ballpark, I'm actually going to start getting a lot more blood, a lot more contraction. And I tend to believe that when your brain is really focused on a muscle, not only are you increasing the physical activity, but you're also increasing the amount of energy that's being expelled to your muscles. That way you can get the most amount of power. So that's something I really feel like I wanted to hit home, because it doesn't really matter how many reps you're doing. It really doesn't matter how much weight you're doing. It really matters what you look like in the mirror and how you feel when you're staring at yourself, as far as if you're happy or not. And in this case, I use the mirror as a way to focus in on the muscles. So I hope that's something you guys take in. I hope it's something you can apply. And if you weren't doing that before, try doing it. And do me a favor, leave a comment below on how it's affecting your workout, and if you start getting any gains from it. So let's go ahead and continue with the workout, and you'll be able to see the post interview at the end. It was really cool. I got to hit some really cool different angles from traps, and got to get some different angles on the shoulders without twisting it up much. Sometimes when I use those cables doing those lateral raises, I put a little bit of pressure on my rotator cuff. So this last time I was really easy with it. I tried it for a couple reps. I didn't really videotape it. I didn't feel comfortable with it. So I went back over the dumbbells. I feel like with dumbbells I have a lot more freedom, and I can get it. If I do have this twitch or anything, it doesn't put any weird pressure on my rotator. So I want to add kind of an ending comment to that previous question about the definition of natty. I don't even know why it's such a big deal. I mean, if you're a professional bodybuilder, it's obvious you have to use, should say if you're a professional bodybuilder within like the Olympia stage, Mr. California stage and up, it's really hard to compete in a natural state because everybody else is obviously using all different kinds of steroids and growth hormone, which I think is okay because if you compete at that level, that's what you're expected to do, and that's the lifestyle that you embrace. And then, of course, if you opt to go natural, there's plenty of competitions for natural. The problem I have is there's so many people that are competing in natural that we know off the bat aren't 100% natural. They've either used some sort of anabolic steroids in their life, or they have used some kind of poor hormone in their life. And I think once you've used that once, you're no longer natural. I don't think there's anything wrong with being natural or non-natural. I just think you need to be real with it. And if you choose that you want to compete in natty competition, and you know damn well you've done some pro hormones when you're youth, maybe when you're 18, 19, and now you're 30 competing, shame on you. And that's sad that that competition is like that. And I see a lot of natty competitions where you can sell out of proportion growth, and it could have been from years prior, because I believe a lot of them have a rule if it's like 5 years, within the last 5 years or 7 years, which you could have done steroids for 8 years and then start getting into bodybuilding and then stop doing drugs, and 7 years later you can claim you're unnatural, but God knows the reason why you've hit that plateau is because of help. So that's it. That's all I'm going to say about it. I wanted to tackle it direct. I know a lot of people are really vague about it, and I just felt like it's something that needs to be cleared. And I think if everybody just drew the line right then and there, we would stop being so shameful about it and so weird about it and just accept it. It is part of the sport, So this is day 8. This is Joey from the Gym Junkies. I'm going to cross out. Tomorrow is break, and then I go right into doing back and buys and legs the following day. So I hope you guys have a great day.